If a business owner does not have relationships or builds a network, and they only spend on all these, trendy marketing tactics, what's the risk there?
If you're lucky enough to have an ongoing high budget for social media, brilliant, do it. If you can afford a strategy for LinkedIn, do it. But what you shouldn't be missing is the power of relationships,
Definitely.
which, by the way, here we go, is ultimately free.
Definitely.
This is ChallengerBrands, helping you build better brands and businesses. Hosted by Illustrado, the brand development and creative agency for ambitious and audacious Challenger brands.
Welcome to another episode of Challenger Brands, where we help you build better brands and businesses. And today, it's all about growing your business. All of us, everybody wants to grow their business, and there are certain strategies we can employ to improve our chances of having a great business in the future, as well as better lives, right? Our guest today will help us with that. He's going to share a lot of valuable insights from the market and from his extensive experience. We have Phil Bedford, who is a business coach and relationship marketing expert. Phil, welcome to the show.
Absolute pleasure to be here. Hi, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us. So just to give everybody context, so Phil has been in the UAE since 1998, and then armed with a master's degree and over a decade of experience in sales and training and business development and consulting, Phil's mission is to expand the Asentiv franchise throughout the GCC. And you also had the SBC business, right? But Phil is more than just a seasoned professional. He's also a dynamic networker. And this is something that he teaches to a lot of people. You are a leading expert in referral marketing. And I understand that your passion lies in helping business owners grow their business, but at the same time have spectacular lives, right, Phil?
Absolutely, yes.
So, Phil, to get into today's discussion, let me ask you first, why and how did you get into this business? Why are you helping business owners expand their business?
So I'm going to take a trip back to my own childhood.
Yes, please.
Enough. So my father was used to work for many companies. He was a welder, and he followed his dreams to start his own business. And that meant at the time he had to move away from home. He ran a number of years. It was a boat hire. And so he lived away from home, worked away from home, pumped all his life savings into this dream. And unfortunately, for a number of reasons, his business didn't do well.
Wow.
And one of the biggest reasons was knowing how to run a business and market a business, plus a lot of bad luck. What was also going on for him, in fact, was he was away from his family, away from his kids. So there was guilt. It's not nice. And oddly enough, there's so many people in the world, and particularly in the UAE, living away from their families. Entrepreneurs here, even if they're in Dubai with them, they're still working crazy hours trying to provide a future for their family, right? So as a child, I went through all this. My dad wasn't there. He wasn't there to help me. I was bullied at school. He wasn't there. And I see this. Now, I've been lucky because in my life, I've learned to develop relationships. And we're going to come to this in a minute. But those relationships have enabled me to grow businesses. But at the same time, I've been able to grow businesses strategically and allow myself to have time for the family when it's been needed.
I love that this is coming from such a deep place. And, I know you from SBC and from Asentiv, and I understand that, you're very good at what you do, but understanding the backstory just adds another layer. And what you say is really true. It's so relevant. There are a lot of people out there, and no matter how hard they work, with all their passion, with all their skills and everything, it's not a guarantee of having a successful business, right?
Absolutely not. I mean, there are so many people we all know who are really, really good at what they do. They'll sit, there's all these people who feed you this line about you just need to be passionate and business will come. Rubbish.
That's true.
There are plenty of people who are absolutely fantastic at what they do.
Exactly.
They've got no living and they've gone bust. People need to realize that one of the top skills of anyone in business is how to get clients.
Exactly.
And unless you have that resource, either you have that knowledge or you have lots of money, then you've got a challenge. And that hence becomes the challenge. Because there's only two ways to get clients. You can spend money, marketing, and all the classic ways, or you can get them through relationships. And of course, most people don't always have the relationships available or know how to leverage them in an appropriate manner to get where they want to go. So they keep going back for money. When you go back for money, There's you're back in the whole rabbit wheel
Yeah.
of, have I got enough money to get my clients? No, I haven't got enough money. So
Okay, definitely. So let's backtrack. Having skills, having the talent, doing the hard work, not an assurance that you will get business out there or get clients. For people who are totally new, or probably even, people who have been there in the business but don't really know how to go about it. Let's talk about business development, right? How do we start? Where do we start? What are the foundational basics?
Well, the thing is, you got experts in every different funnel or direction of getting clients, right? You can go out and there's an expert in social media, an expert in web design, expert in SEO, expert in referral marketing. There's all these different experts. And the challenge, I think, for anyone who's starting a small business is everybody you go to will tell you that they have the solution for you. Right? And I think what we need to, and the problem is a lot of people who are starting a business either buy into it because they believe the person or because they've been told to do that.
Yeah.
Or because, well, that's what their business did when they had a job. And what we need to do is look at, I think, one core element is how much money have you got?
Exactly. There's always a price tag, right?
Exactly. And the thing is, if you're sitting there and you're lucky because you have an investor from day one, well, you've got more options available. Okay, depending on how much that money is. But don't fool yourself because you have to pay that back later. So you still need to be frugal.
Exactly.
So what I do is I always say to people, look at who you're trying to reach, look at where they are, and look how much money you've got. Because whatever channel you choose to get to those clients, you have to keep doing it. Because marketing gets us in front of the clients, right? Sales converts them, right? Most people, when they start a business, they don't have two of the core elements. One is the ability to sell, and the other is the ability to network, right? So if you've got money, great, but if you haven't, you're left with networking. So I think that's the challenge we got.
But I guess, Phil, and I've seen you talk about this also, even if you have money, networking, establishing these relationships, this is still very key in getting the business done, right? In landing those clients.
Well, let me give you an example, right? Everyone can try this now. So I'm going to give you the example of Joe Biden. Everyone knows who Joe Biden is, right? Now, if you don't like Joe Biden for whatever your political reason is, think of somebody else who's similarly influential that you respect, right? So you've got that person in your mind, right? Right. Now imagine you've got half an hour, and I'm going to say with Joe. You've got half an hour with Joe. And at the end of half an hour, Joe Biden says to you, I really like what you do, and I think it's fantastic. So what I'm going to do is give you two choices. Number one, I'll give you $100,000 right now, and you can go and spend it on whatever you want in your business. You don't need to pay me back. Or I'll help you from my contacts. Which would you take?
I know my answer very clearly. What about you guys? I'm asking the people out there. Please type in the comment section, what would you take? Contacts or money?
Now, if you take money, I get it. Right? I do understand.
Yeah.
But money runs out.
Of course.
Right? And marketing's like brushing your teeth. You have to keep doing it. If you stop, your teeth fall out. Marketing's the same. And that's the challenge. But here's the thing. If you chose Joe Biden, you understand the power of being connected to the right people.
Definitely.
Okay, because that can stay forever. But also, one introduction could be worth, you can imagine, right? So if everyone here is saying Joe Biden, for what reason are we not learning to develop more of those relationships?
That's
Instead,
true.
when we get 100,000 dirhams in our marketing budget, we throw it all into marketing.
Definitely.
No, it's valid.
Yeah.
But the point is, why are we not developing more of these relationships? Because we all know it.
It seems obvious, doesn't it?
But people don't do it.
Exactly.
Now, the other question is, if I take a step back again, the really smart people have realized already it's not about what Joe will do for us or the money. It's how did you get introduced to Joe in the first place? Now, if we look at a business owner who's highly connected, things are possible. You can get information, you can get help, you can get support, you can get referrals. You can pick up the phone and say, I need an introduction to this person. But most small business owners who are fresh out the gate just don't have that kind of network. They've got the friends from work, their family, and maybe a friends outside.
Exactly.
So the question is, how can you build that network as quickly as possible?
Definitely.
Because most small business owners and small businesses go bust in the first 2 years. So if you have to fast track that, you need a strategy.
Very true. And the network is the gift that keeps on giving, right?
Keeps on giving.
Exactly. It's not a one-time thing. It's something that you can build through the year. So definitely contacts more than just cash.
Yeah, and the thing is as well is there's only a very small percentage of people that really either have that network or are comfortable or do it naturally.
Definitely.
Most of us don't. And I'm, by the way, not a natural networker. I know many people who are much, much better than I am. I've kind of learned this because I'm a bit of an introvert, whether people believe it or not.
Yes. I'm the same.
Yeah.
We're extroverted introverts.
There you go.
Right?
I like that phrase. Yeah. So, but the thing is, you can learn this. But what we find is there's only a small percentage of people who will actually invest in learning how to build their business network. They prefer instead just to walk into events, hand out business cards, and, well, that's not networking, that's handing out business cards. And so that it can go to a really high level. And this is why, by the way, Dr. Ivan Meisner, who developed BNI and originally Asentiv, built the system for this because he realized the power, but nobody was teaching it.
Definitely. And it's something that grows organically, right? I'm going to ask you about, techniques in terms of networking. But before that, let me just backtrack. So what happens if a business owner just throws money for business development, meaning spends it all on social media, on lead generation, all these new trends that we have in the market? What is the risk? If a business owner does not have relationships or builds a network, and they only spend on all these, trendy marketing tactics. What's the risk there?
Well, I think with any marketing, there's a risk, right? If your target market is listening on the wrong channel, you're going to waste your money. So, social media experts should be able to tell you, based on your target market, your ideal client, which platform do you go on? What's the message? Is it fun? Is it strategic? So that's why we have experts, right? But I think it's about knowing really is what's going to work for your investment. So, if you're trying to meet lawyers, then you're not really necessarily going to be on Instagram posting pictures of you jumping around having fun, right? That's the way. So that's why you go to an expert. But at the end of the day, social media has a big use, in my opinion. Yes, you can land clients from it. But whatever we do, it has to be, how do I land regular clients? Not one client, maybe, if I'm lucky, after pumping in 30,000. And of course, with social media, as good as it is, it's good for building your brand. It's good for building awareness. But for B2B, particularly in highly technical service-based industries, it's not going to convert as much as B2C.
Definitely.
Selling hair products, right?
Yeah.
So the question is, you can't eat likes.
Yes, people, you can't eat likes. Let's repeat that again. You cannot eat likes. For sure.
So it's about a blended approach. If you're lucky enough to have an ongoing high budget for social media, brilliant, do it. If you can afford a strategy for LinkedIn, do it. But what you shouldn't be missing is the power of relationships,
Definitely.
which, by the way, here we go, is ultimately free.
Definitely. I mean, we have, a contact, in fact, an ex-client who launched a franchise in the country and spent probably about $40,000 in a month during the launch for social media advertising. And within 6 months, that business was gone, finished. The business failed because there are no roots. You can work on the short term, but you must not miss the long term. And this is where the relationship building comes in, right?
Absolutely. And we're just saying, when I backtrack, I said a minute ago, marketing's like brushing your teeth. You kind of, when you're brushing your teeth every morning, you don't see it making any difference. But you know that if you stop doing it, your teeth will fall out. On the flip side, there's no point not brushing your teeth for 10 years and then sitting there and saying, do you know what, I'm furiously going to brush my teeth for a whole week. Doesn't do any difference. And that's what a lot of people are doing with their spend.
Yeah.
They hit it in one big
Exactly.
amount, and they don't allow for it to filter through. And of course, experts like yourselves and other people in that space will tell them, you've got to be ongoing.
It's a consistent effort.
And there lies your challenge. If you don't have the investment for ongoing, that's the challenge. So going back to our thing earlier on is, depending on how much resources in terms of money you've got and where your targets are, this is how you spread your spend.
Business development through networking or referral marketing, Phil. B2B, B2C, does both type of businesses need it, or it's not so necessary for a B2C situation? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, anybody can do word of mouth. right? Anybody can do it. I think the question is, what has the biggest hit? But again, based on your finance, right? So, if I've got a local supermarket coming to me saying, Phil, can we do word of mouth training? I would say if you've got marketing spend, stay with marketing. Because you're going to market bigger. But it doesn't mean that somebody isn't going to turn around to their friend and say, oh, you should try out that new supermarket around the corner. It's fantastic. Well, that's word of mouth. But you've got to look at what you've got to spend. And so normally word of mouth would be B2B, and particularly in high service level industries. So you'd think coaching, legal, oddly enough, interior. Do you know what one of my biggest client bases is? You'd never believe it.
Tell me.
Digital marketing and website design companies who invest in learning how to do business by referral and networking.
There you go.
Because that's where they get most of their clients from.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's really weird. So it works for everything, and it's a different strategy. But you can go B2C. So if I've got a business coach who's doing fitness training, brilliant. You can really help a fitness coach, and we have. It really comes down, I think, to the individual, what they've got to spend, what they're earning per client, and then hence what marketing channel's best.
All right. How do we start this? Okay, big question, I know. Networking. What are the fundamentals to all people out there who don't have huge networks around them? Perhaps like you and I, they are extroverted introverts, or maybe purely introverts also. How do they network? Where do they start?
I think the first thing you've got to do is look at what is networking. And I know you had BJ Shah on here recently where he was talking about giver's gain. And this is the first disconnect. Networking is not about me selling to you.
Yes.
Right? It's not about pouncing on people. So if you're at a networking event and you ram my business card in your face and then I try and sell to you, that's cold calling face to face.
Yes.
Nobody enjoys that.
It's a turn off.
Exactly. And yet so many people, and the biggest problem for a lot of people is that's what their bosses tell them to do because that's what the bosses have done themselves. And I did it. I didn't know any better. My boss told me. But it doesn't sit right with you if you're a relational person. And what we need to realize is there's two kinds of people. There's relational and there's transactional. If you're transactional, don't go networking. Stick to cold calling or do something else. But if you are relational and you see the value of building this relationship, trying to help each other, we're starting to network. So number one, realize that networking is actually about helping other people to help you. And at the same time, if you're into communities, then it's even richer. So number one is realize that it is helping. It's not pouncing. It's not sales. But the other thing is you've got to be willing, I think, call it a boomerang. You have to be willing to keep doing.
Okay.
Now, the other thing, of course, is learn how to do it.
All right.
So if you've got any doctors listening here, how many years did you spend learning how to be a doctor? Lawyers, how many years? Right? What would you think if I started practicing law or being a doctor and I didn't do any training? You think I'm mad? It takes
practice,
You think I'm mad, right?
Exactly.
And yet networking is one of the top ways to get business, and people don't learn how to do it. They just start handing out business cards and wonder why things don't work. So there's a science to it. So I'm going to say, number one, realize that it is about helping other people as well. Number two is realize that if you really want to be successful, try and learn how to do it. And number three, I think, is just keep doing it. Because there are people that learn how to do it, and then they just stop doing it.
Is there a certain time frame for networking, Phil? Like, say, for example, would I feel some kind of benefit, I don't know, by month 3, month 6?
Nice
Because like you said, a lot of people are transactional. They would think if I'm putting this much of resource, if I'm putting this much of time, then when can I expect success?
Yeah,
that's a common question.
So there is a, the great thing of giving is to give without reciprocity, expecting anything back, right? And when you're in a community, you can afford to do that because sooner or later it comes back. The challenge is for a lot of people, as much as that is lovely and it's fantastic, well, when you've got to put food on the table, you might need a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right? So in Asentiv, one of the things that makes it so special is we actually have a do this scorecard. It's activities. Do this. And if you do that, it's like a points. It's like a game. It's gamified. If you get 100 points every single week, you will grow your business. And we see between 6 to 8 weeks of the right activities, business will start to come in. And that's what makes it so different to any other networking platform. Even some of the ones I've mentioned before don't have this tool.
So consistency
of the right things.
Exactly.
And because you can measure it in the same way that companies might measure cold calls, we can measure goodwill, we can measure personal networking, we can measure that. And if you do enough of it, we have tracked that it starts to come in. So people can track it. And then you know that you can continue with the goodwill. But also it's about goodwill in the right place.
Exactly, yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of people networking in completely the wrong places and wondering why they're not having success. And they've got great hearts and they're lovely people, but they're in the wrong place.
Everything has to fall into place, right? It has to be aligned. With that, I think we will take a break first, and we would like to thank our sponsors and our supporters, Rove Hotels. Thank you so much for always being there for the Challenger Brands podcast.
This is Challenger Brands. Please subscribe to our channel and share our content. Follow us on our agency's social media pages, Illustrado.co, on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, or subscribe to our newsletter via our website, www.illustrado.co. Thank you to our sponsors for today's episode. Rove Hotels. Rove Hotels are a jumping-off point for city explorers, simply designed for the young and young at heart. Born in Dubai, Rove is an award-winning lifestyle brand offering well-designed hotels, fuss-free service, and great value in well-connected locations. More than just a bed for the night, Rove provides rovers, the missing link to connect you to the city like a local, and explore the track less trodden in a relaxed environment where you can be yourself. With sustainability, local art, and high-performing functionality at the heart of its brand, Rove represents a new niche of hospitality for the digital nomad looking to become part of the neighborhood, even when they're just passing through. Please check them out at rovehotels.com.
I think one of the more interesting topics when it comes to networking, Phil, is the opportunity or the possibility of getting strategic partnerships or collaboration, right? So it's not just about selling to people or the people that you meet, the people you network with, but it's forming these partnerships or collabs that will allow you to reach, an even greater network or an even greater client base, right? Phil, can you tell us what are the basic things that we need to consider? Who can we partner with? How do we keep our eye on, potential good opportunities to be collaborating with people? How do you go about this? What's the right way of doing it?
Okay, so there's different forms of collaboration to start with, right? So you can collaborate over information, you can collaborate over support, resources, or you can collaborate in the perspective of helping each other to get clients. Okay, so there's different levels of collaboration, and each one's a different strategy, and they're different people. If I'm guessing, thinking about how do we collaborate to get clients, that's what in our language we call a referral source. Okay, so the whole concept of that, of course, is to find another company that is in a similar industry to yourself, has similar clients, but does not compete. Okay, so the best way of giving an example here would be if you think about a wedding, right? So the client, and this is what we do with our clients, but each industry is different. You kind of reverse engineer this. So if you think about a wedding, so the client at the wedding, let's say, is the lady, right? Okay, so the lady's there. So the lady gives money to who? So the lady at a wedding would have photographer, dress, fitness coach,
wedding planner,
lawyer, maybe.
For the prenup.
For the prenup. Venue, right?
Exactly.
So if you imagine the bride in the middle, and around her is this wheel of businesses, right? Now, at most weddings, you might just have the bride's running around trying to find all these different people. Now, what if that group of people were all sitting in a community that met once a month and said, right, who's your latest bride? Why don't you recommend all our services to this bride? So what happens is one person gets the client, 8 people win. And if each person out there is looking out for clients, every time someone picks up a client, 8 people win. The trouble is people are so busy looking for the bride themselves going, right, I've got my client.
Exactly, yeah.
Good luck. Now, if we're sitting there collaboratively thinking, who else can I help? Then suddenly we've got an ecosystem of support.
Exactly.
That's next level. That's referral marketing as opposed to networking. And so many people aren't there. So in my world, a big part of one of my number one collaborations is a gentleman called Ramiz Halu and his colleague Alan Bell, who work in the Academy for Sales Excellence. So in business, there's marketing, getting you in front of the clients, and sales, closing their clients, right? Both are different skills. and people need one or the other. So sometimes I'll be working with clients whose marketing is up to a certain point, but they can't close clients. So I'll just refer them to Ramis, to the academy. Likewise, they've worked with people who they'll turn around and go, do you know what, your problem's not sales. Actually, your problem is you've got nobody to sell to, and he'll send them to me. And we just look after each other because we believe in each other.
That's
and that's
amazing.
a great way to do business.
And I like what you have mentioned earlier, that the attitude is really just about who can I help, right? You have to start from there. It's not about who I can sell to, but it's who I can help, and then everything else falls into place.
Well, it's funny you say it, because one of the challenges with networking groups, I think, is some networking groups can see other networking groups as competition.
That's my next question. Competition, yeah.
See, I'll beat you to it then. So that's the thing, right? Is, well, you sign your membership with me and, let's keep all our members. Well, the thing is, as soon as you do that, you've built an ecosystem, and theoretically what's happening is you use up all your contacts, right? Now, what if there's another group and they bring the two of them together? So on this Friday coming, I'm actually bringing SPC, Strategic Business Connect, and we're actually meeting with one of the BNI chapters, the Warriors.
That's
and
amazing.
We're bringing all our clients together. So you put them in a position where now they can all start to do business. And it's not just about the people in the room, because if I look at you, how many people do you know?
I can't.
Well, there you go.
Thousands.
150, 500, 1,000,
Yeah.
2,000. Well,
Yeah.
okay, so realistically, it's not Facebook people because they're not our friends.
Definitely.
Right?
But not personal contacts,
there you go,
of course,
right? So personal contacts, 150 to 300, right? So if I've got 1,000 members, right, and each of them knows 300 people, that's a lot of external opportunities, right? But that's only 300,000. Now, suddenly, if I bring over the other network of 1,000 people, each with 300, bring them together, now what's the potential?
Definitely. It makes a lot of sense. It really makes a lot of sense. So again, it's not about competition, it's about collaboration, right?
Yeah.
I'll still go back to competition though. Okay, one group would probably have a couple of people in the same business category, right? How would you view competition in that way? How can everybody get a piece of the action?
Good stuff. Well, actually, when you really, really break it down, you quite often find that people think they compete, but actually they don't. In many scenarios, they actually can collaborate. So I had, for example, there was a client of mine called Chris Morley years ago. And Chris, I think, is still in the UAE. And he used to tell everyone that he was in IT, right? So that basically anybody in IT was his competition. After we worked together on my program, Asentiv Pro, we got to week 3 when we started to really nut down on exactly what he did. And he suddenly realized, hold on a second, all my old competition actually could be passing me clients, because he realized he was an expert in a specific niche.
True. Yeah.
And he wasn't good in the others. So suddenly he had this epiphany, and he went out and he told me a couple of months later, he says, all these people that wouldn't talk to me are now giving me clients. So here's the thing, we have to really look down on who is your dream client, who do you best serve, who best connects with you, and then suddenly your competition could be your best client.
Yeah.
Now, not always, but you'll be amazed how often it does happen.
Yeah, if you understand your niche, then you can really collaborate with others, because not all of the companies are good on one thing, right?
100%.
Everybody's got their own specialization, their expertise, and that's how you work together.
Well, we had four photographers once at one of my sessions, and they all walked in. We're all photographers, and you could see them cross their arms going competition. So when we started actually to break it down, one of them was specialized in taking, check this out, photographs of offshore structures, so oil rigs.
That's so specific.
That was his
so
specific,
niche,
right?
Yeah?
And he had a special permission so he could get on a helicopter that no one else had. That is really specific, right? He hated doing weddings. Turned him cold. Another girl there loved weddings and hated food and anything else. Another one, liked food and the other one. So what we suddenly had was 5 or 6 photographers, each who had their own area of expertise. And they said, hold on a second. From now on, instead of turning away the weddings that I hate, I'll give them to you.
That's amazing.
And you can either do it just to help each other, or if it became sort of financial, that's down to them. But the point is, it's all saving you marketing spend.
Exactly. And all because you're trying to have a good relationship with people, right? That's amazing. And I believe in that. And let me repeat that: collaboration, not competition. Very important.
But that's why you have to come to this with a relational mindset instead of a transactional one.
Exactly.
Because if it's transactional, you'll never do it.
For sure. Not about sales, it's about relationship building. Now let's talk about another area that I always see you talking about, Phil. It's become so important in recent years, this buzzword of personal branding. How important is this in business right now?
Well, I mean, again, everyone's got a personal brand now, right?
Yeah.
Even a kid who's 8 years old on Facebook
Exactly.
or TikTok. Well, okay, you wouldn't get an 8-year-old on
Definitely.
Facebook, TikTok or whatever, yeah?
Yeah.
So everyone's got a personal brand from day one, whether they like it or not. If we're looking at a business owner, I think you've got a double thing you have to consider. So you can be standing up on stage saying, do this, do this, do this. You jump off stage, go on social media and do the opposite. You've completely damaged your brand. So we need to realize that we are our brand. But again, you've got your business brand, you've got your personal one. So we can consider both. But if you look at somebody like, let's say, Richard Branson, right? He's got more following than Virgin as a brand.
For sure.
So the individual can be as powerful or more powerful than their business brand, which is, of course, a great thing to carry across if you're going to open multiple businesses, right? So as a business person, we need to consider both.
Again, what happens to introverts and extroverted introverts, right? Shy, CEO or business owner, what do? Is it a must? Are they going to lose if they don't have personal branding?
Well, I think everyone's got their personal brand, whether they choose to get involved with it or not. Just like we're on social media,
That's
whether we
true.
choose to be or not.
Exactly.
So there are people, so if you've ever done behavioral style work, there are a lot of serious introverts who will never invest in personal branding. To even go to a branding expert, they don't see the point. They'll just go and get a friend to do a clip art logo or something. So there's different people that different understands. But of course, if you really, really understand the psychology of branding, we know it's about attracting people and they don't even know they're being attracted. There is that whole psychology element to it.
True.
So I think if you really do understand branding, you've got more chance of attracting loyal customers, of getting them to buy and they don't know why they're buying, but they do.
Exactly.
And what I mean by that is just imagine, let's look at Apple for 1 second. Brilliant phone company from what it does, and then so's Samsung, so's Huawei. All these guys do a great job. How many cars do you see driving around with a Samsung sticker on the back or a Huawei sticker?
No, none.
Right?
None.
How many do you see driving around with an Apple sticker on the back?
Probably even an Apple tattoo.
Lots, right?
Right, yeah.
And yet they're all doing a great job.
Yeah,
Apple has something that the others don't.
of course,
all
yeah.
right? And the question is, if you can see a branding expert and catch that magic, that's why you go to a branding expert.
Steve Jobs is part of the legend, right?
There you go, right?
So, realizing that, I'm still shocked that some entrepreneurs don't even have any presence on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it is.
It's 2023, and some people who own businesses are still not on LinkedIn.
Or on there badly, which is almost as bad.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, marketing requires touch points, right? So most people require, sort of 8 to 12 touch points before they will convert. Okay. And the thing is, those touch points could be, look at your website, look at your social media, see you getting out of a car, see the guy in your business with a suit on, whatever it is, those touch points. And people could be choosing not to work with us because one of those touch points was so negative based on their values, they go somewhere else and we don't know we've even lost them. So all our touch points really have to be as positive as possible. So that's making sure your LinkedIn's polished, making sure you turn up appropriately dressed, making sure you return phone calls, making sure you return emails, making sure, for some people, your shoes are polished.
Of course.
Because if the touch point is missed and it hits their values, they'll go somewhere else.
Definitely. Just, let's crystallize that, everything that you've said there. What are the good hallmarks of a good personal brand? What are the hallmarks, rather?
I mean, everyone's going to have their own, what they consider appropriate, right? So I think when your branding is being done, you have to do your branding based on your values, looking to attract the kind of people you want to attract. Okay, because it depends on it really depends on you trying to. I know. If I'm Genghis Khan, right, and I don't care about attracting people that sit there like talking about love and hope and all that,
That's
right?
true.
I'm Genghis Khan. I want to attract my warriors, right?
You have to be true to your brand.
So you attract what you're trying to attract.
Definitely.
So I think we need to. That's where it all becomes very important.
Definitely. This was one of the questions that I had when I was speaking at an event in Ras Al Khaimah. Should my personal life filter through to my social media? What's your take on that? Do we need to show our personal life on social media?
I'm personally a fan of it. I don't mind because for me, I feel I'm congruent in who I am as an individual with what I promise as a business,
True.
right? I think there are a lot of people that aren't. And so they may not want to do that. Other people do it to protect their thing. But I think people buy people.
That's for sure.
And at the end of the day, people want to see you're a human being that has challenges and you do this. And
Definitely.
I really don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, as human as you can get, right?
I believe so. But it's down to the individual.
Yeah, and as long as, of course, it sticks to your brand values, as long as it's consistent to what you're preaching. Let me veer off for a second here and talk about your other personal, philosophies. Leadership. You're helping a lot of companies out there succeed and helping a lot of owners, have better lives moving forward. What are the leadership principles that allow you to help other people? What are the things that you swear by those are the values, right? That's my philosophy as a somebody who supports businesses.
Okay, and I've got to sing to my personal values there. So I think at the end of the day, most of us, when we look at our ideal client, we're actually looking at ourselves. Right. So for me, it really is respect. That's huge for me. Community. But when I say community, that includes my family, because for me, my friends can be just as important as my family. So family, respect, and really, I think security is another one. But security from an aspect of being able to live, look after your family, so again, you could tie money and wealth in with that, but that's different to just saying I want money. So that for me, those are my values, and I think if that also opens up time for family, so for me, and a lot of that goes again to personal experiences, what my father went through, what my wife went through. And oddly enough, that's why I feel like I attract people who are into health, into family, into free time, into working hard and being really passionate about it, but trying to find some way of living now rather than when it's too late.
That's a great statement coming from somebody who's always on the go, because every time I see you, whether it's in an event or social media, you're always going, doing things, connecting people, being so busy. But, to have that statement that family is important, living now, and having time for all these things is important. I really like that. That's very refreshing.
Well, it's very important to me. And for me, the weekends are sacrosanct.
I say that too, yeah.
Yeah, if you go on my WhatsApp and someone WhatsApp me, it says, I'm not going to speak to you until the weekend, unless it's urgent, right? We all have emergencies. But what I honestly don't understand is someone who messages me on a Saturday morning about business. And I'm like, why can't you be organized enough in the week?
True.
So that you and your family can enjoy each other.
Exactly, yeah.
Me and my family can enjoy it. And what it comes down to
time.
is people are just not organized enough. But that's my values. Other people, their values may be, I work 7 days a week because it shows that I'm whatever. That's their values, it's not mine.
I like that, this is actually a very smart way of conducting yourself. If you want to be there for the long haul, to be successful, you have to do all these things. These are very important, yeah.
Yeah, everybody we all understand hard work, right? There is no entrepreneur out there who's had it easy, right? We all work hard, right?
Yeah.
But I think what's more important is smart work. Which is hard work at the right time. And I think the problem is people just work hard and they're not considering smart work. And that's one of the things I believe I help my clients with is how can you do smart work rather than just blatant hard work? Because you do blatant hard work, you burn out, your kids suffer, your wife, your husband suffer, and it's not sustainable.
You can't be burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah, this whole hustle culture. It's okay when you're 20, 21, but as you start to get older and there's other more important things in your life, you've got to find somewhere to be more strategic.
And it doesn't necessarily make you successful, right?
True that.
What else is out there in Phil Bedford's future between Asentiv, SBC, the family, and the community? What do you hope for in the future?
For me, happiness. I think at the end of the day, that's the goal. I do believe that there's always things coming up that can enrich, change, keep you a little bit on your toes. I was just watched a TV program. If you get the chance, it's on Netflix, and it was called 100 Long Lived.
Oh yeah,
Did you see it?
I love that series.
Oh my goodness, it was amazing.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
And a couple of things they came out with. Of course, diet, exercise, that's always been important to me, and that's no surprise to anyone. But the other two things were purpose and community.
Community, yeah.
Now, I know what my goal is is obviously to move back to Australia, but it's to be purposeful, it's to be in a beautiful community, it's to be healthy, and it's to live well as long as I can. And whatever comes with that, whether it's SBC still part of my life, or whether speaking on a stage, or whether Michelle and I find something else that enriches our lives, like charity or whatever, you know, I'm open to new things, but fundamental to it has got to be health, happiness, love, and the purpose and community.
I'm so touched, and I love seeing this, I would say, softer side of Phil, for a better word, because when you're out there, you're Phil, the dynamic networker, on top of things, making things happen. So it's really refreshing to see all that and where this is coming from, the wanting to do good for people. And that's very important. Final words of wisdom for our audience out there.
Oh, final words of wisdom. It's actually a favorite quote of mine, and it's an African quote, and it's, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Amazing. Everybody should remember that, right? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go farther, go together. And thank you so much, Phil. This was such a great episode. Thank you for sharing all that knowledge with us. And hopefully, let's do this again sometime. Yeah,
I'd love to. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. And that's, folks, is our episode of Challenger Brands for today. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
This is Challenger Brands, helping you build better brands and businesses. Hosted by Illustrado, the brand development and creative agency for ambitious and audacious challenger brands.